Hello, musicians! Lately, we've been doing a lot of lessons working on how to read and sing patterns using mi, so, and la, three of our notes on our solfege ladder. Our solfege ladder, of course, is from do, our home note, all the way up to high do, but we've just been using a few notes, so, mi, and la. And we've been learning how to read them on the staff and sing them using our ladder here. Today, we're going to do one extra step where you'll have to get a little creative. So you will need a piece of paper and a pencil for this activity, and of course something hard to write on. You can use a desk. I'm going to use this clipboard. And we're going to be doing a little bit of writing with our patterns. Let's review what we know and warm up our voice with singing some of these patterns. My turn, your turn. Lots of air, nice and easy, and use the hand signs too. Let's try so, so, mi, mi. All right, how about so, la, la, so, mi. Or mi, so, la. Let's see if we can jump around a little bit. How about so, mi, so, la. Or how about so, la, mi. That's our favorite salami pattern. What if we jump all the way from mi to la? Mi, la, mi, la. Or here's a tricky one that's often found in a lot of songs. So, mi, la, so. Quick review from before, we learned about some different strategies that can be used for composing or improvising, making up your own music. So here were those strategies. Let's review them and do some silly noises to understand what they mean again. Let's do mostly low. Yeah, most of our notes are low in that strategy, but not all of them. Try mostly high. Or we've also got half and half. First half is something, second half is the other something, so maybe high then low. Half and half. Or another strategy we had was back and forth, making a zigzaggy shape up and down. We also had repeated notes. That's where they're all the same. We also explored opposite. Opposite. If the first half moves low to high, if the first half moves high to low, then the second half has to be opposite, low to high. And our final one we did was straight line. For example, moving high to low in order. Okay, let's do a little review of reading our patterns on the staff. We should be getting pretty good at that by now. And let's figure out which strategy they seem to match again. I've got some new patterns for us to look at today. Remember, our do, our home note, is on that bottom space. So we had mi in the next space up, and so is in a space, and la was on the top line. So what would this pattern be? Do you remember? Are you able to figure it out without looking at our solfege ladder? Let's see if you got it. I'll sing it, you sing it back. So, la, so, la. Nice. So on that top space, la on the top line. Okay, what strategy does this one seem to follow? Mostly low, mostly high, half and half, back and forth, opposite, straight line, or repeated notes. Take a look at it, compare the different options. Now remember, not every strategy is crystal clear. Some may look like they could follow a couple different ones, but I think this one is pretty clear. It looks like back and forth to me. What do you think? Because it goes so, la, making that zigzag shape. Okay, new pattern. Take a look at this one, see if you can figure out what this one reads like. Can you even hear it in your head as if you were singing it quietly to yourself? This one starts on mi, so my turn, your turn. Mi, mi, so, so. Okay, what strategy is this one? I think this one looks like it's got to be half and half. Is that what you figured out? First half is both mi, second half is so's. half and half. All right, let's keep going. See if you can figure out what this one says. Should be easy by now. Let's see if you got it. My turn. So, mi, so, so. Okay, what strategy is this one? Well, we've got 3 so's and only 1 mi this time, so I would call this one mostly high, because most of the notes are above the middle. Okay, what about this pattern? Can you read what this one says? Can you hear that first note in your head? We know it's la. Let's see if we can sing it. My turn, you turn. La, so, so, la. Yeah, it's got to start on that la. A little tricky. We're used to starting on so most of the time, but you can start on mi or la too. Okay, what strategy is this one? Well, I see the first half going la, so, and the second half going so, la, so I would call this opposite. What do you think? I think that makes the most sense. Let's do a few more. Check out this pattern. Okay, do you think you've got it? I'll sing it. You sing it back. Check your work. Mi, mi, sol, la. Okay, what strategy does this one seem to be? This could be a little tricky because I think this one could possibly be following 2 different strategies. Let's see if we can figure out which 2 those are. My first choice, and maybe your first choice too, would be I think it's following a straight line pattern. It does go mi, so, la in order. It just has an extra mi at the beginning, so it's doubling that first sound. So I think it could be a straight line. But I think it also could be following half and half, possibly. The first half is both mi, so that's the same. The second half isn't exactly the same as each other. It's so, la, but they are both high. So it could be half low, half high. What do you think? Like I said, not every pattern has a clear strategy one way or the other. Okay, one more I think here. Check out this pattern. What is this doing? Can you read all of those notes on the staff? Let's give you a little test. Let's see if you can sing this one by yourself. I'll just give you the sound of the first one. Ready, go. Did you sing so, la, so, mi? Try it one more time. Okay, what strategy is this pattern following? Again, I think this is one that could be following a couple different strategies. For example, we could probably call it mostly high because I see 3 very high ones, 2 so's, 1 la, and only 1 mi. Or it could probably be called a back and forth pattern as well because it goes up, then down. And if there was space for more notes, it might go up again. Couple different options for this one. Now that we have reviewed how to read the patterns and how to sing them, it's time for you to get to write your own. We get to be composers today. A composer, of course, is somebody that writes music and makes it up for themselves and for others to play or sing. So we're going to have a little process here. I'm going to walk you through it, and you can either try to do it along with me, or you can wait till the end and watch it again so that you have a better idea of what's going on. The first step that we're going to do for writing our own patterns using so, mi, and la is that we're going to need to get a piece of paper ready. So I have just a piece of notebook paper that I pulled out of a notebook, and that will be perfect. If you have something smaller like a note card, that can work too. But to get our paper ready, the first step is we need to fold it in half because the full sheet is going to be way too big. So I'm just going to fold it in half. All right, now that we have a nice rectangle-shaped piece of paper like this, we need to do some steps to get our paper ready for our pattern. So the very first step, of course, is we got to put our name on our paper. That's more important if you're here in my classroom, but we're going to write our name in the very top corner of our paper, and I'll walk you through it as we go. I'm going to use a marker so that you can see it really clearly, but I hope you're using a pencil in case you make mistakes. I'm going to write my name fairly small up in the corner, Mr. Java, like that. Okay, now the next step is we have to get kind of a grid ready for our musical staff. So we're going to follow some steps here to draw some lines in a particular order to make it really easy. The first step is we are going to draw one line from left to right across the middle of our paper. Just like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but nice and straight in the middle from left to right. Now remember, our musical staff doesn't have just one line, it has several lines, so we're going to have to add a few more, and I've got a really easy way for us to do that. After we've drawn our first line, see that space just below it? We're going to divide that in half with another line. So just below my line, I'm going to draw one more parallel to it, kind of splitting that bottom space in half. And I'm going to draw another line splitting the top space in half. So above my first line, draw one more. We have 3 lines, just like our staff that we've been using so far. I'm going to darken these up a little bit so that they're nice and clear. I'm going to go over them one more time with my marker very carefully so that they're nice and visible. Great, we've got a staff, but now we need some guidelines. We're going to add some guidelines from top to bottom to make it easy to space out our notes evenly. So the first one is right down the center of our paper in the middle, we're going to do a very light line there. Just a light line as a guideline. You can even make it a dashed line if you want. It does not have to be dark and heavy like our staff lines. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing on this side and the same thing on this side, dividing each side in half again. So on that side, I'm going to draw another light line. And then on the right side, I'm going to draw a light line. We did that because our patterns that we've been doing so far have had 4 beats or 4 notes in them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these lines will help us spread them out a little bit. In fact, we could even write those numbers at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do that to make it really clear where each of my notes is going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is our steps to get our paper ready for our pattern. If you're caught up, we can move on to the next step. Now that our paper is ready for us to write our pattern, we've got to make it up. So our second step is we're going to start by picking a strategy. Which one of our 7 strategies do you want to use for your pattern? We're going to start by picking that and then use it to guide how we make our pattern. So remember, our choices are mostly high, mostly low, half and half, back and forth, a straight line up or down, opposite, and repeated notes. Whichever one you want to pick, you can write it at the top of your card. We don't have a lot of space up there, but we can fit it up there at the top. So let's say I'm going to pick straight line for my pattern. I'm going to write that kind of small at the top. Straight line. Like that. Now I know for sure which strategy I'm going to use to make my pattern. Okay, we've gotten our paper ready with our staff, and we've picked our strategy choice and put it at the top. The next step is we need to think of a pattern using me, so, and la, our 3 notes, that matches that strategy. So I'll show you an example. For example, my strategy that I picked was straight line. And we know that that is stepping up the ladder or down. So mi, so, la, or la, so, mi. And our pattern that we're going to create based on our strategy has to have 4 notes in it, 4 beats. So we know that a straight line has 3 sounds, but I need a 4th. So let's see. I'm going to pick the first 3 going in a straight line, mi, so, la. But what am I going to do for the 4th sound? Well, again, like I said, the strategy is a guide for how to create your pattern. It doesn't have to be exactly a fit every time. So I think since we could have those 3 going in a straight line, I'm just going to repeat the last one because that won't really mess up my straight line. I'll just have an extra la. So mi, so, la, la is going to be my pattern based on my straight line strategy. Next, we're going to write down our pattern. Now that we've made it up, and we're going to use the lines and spaces like we've learned how to do them. So remember, me is going to be on our lower space here, so on our higher space, and law up here. Do we have anything that's going to go way down here in this lower extra space? Not today. That's where do would be, but we're not using do. My first note in my pattern is me, so I'm going to write it in this space right there. I can write a letter M for me. Just like that, because that's where me goes on our staff. Okay, now to make it look more like a note, we could draw a circle around it. So I'm going to draw a circle that fills most of that space around the M. Looks like a note. Great. Now I said my second note, which is going to go in the second column, is so. So I'm going to put a so, an S, in that so space and draw a circle around that one. Okay, and I said my third note that I picked for my pattern was going to be law. And remember, law is up here on this top line. It's the line note that we're using. So I'm going to write an L over the top of that line and put a circle around that. Me, so, law. And then I picked my fourth note is also going to be another law. So I'll put another law up there as well. Hey, that was pretty easy. I used my strategy, I followed it to make a pattern, to think it up, and then I wrote it down on our staff in the correct spaces. Me, so, la, la. I could even sing it. Me, so, la, la. Okay, whether you've been doing it along with me and making your own pattern, that's great, but now you should be ready to go back and make your own, following all the steps to create your own pattern. Get your staff ready first by following those directions to draw the lines nicely and neatly. And then think of a strategy that you want to use and write it down at the top of your paper. And then make up a 4-sound pattern that follows that strategy and then write it down in the correct lines or spaces. To be totally clear, my first note was me. I only have one note in this column, don't I? Would it make any sense to stack them and put a so as well as the me or a la as well as the me? Not really, because you can't sing 2 notes at the same time in a melody. It's just one note at a time. Mi, so, la, la. After you've created your own pattern, I would love to hear you perform it. So just like I sang mine, can you sing your pattern? I've got a Flipgrid channel set up for us to do our patterns today, and you can find the link at the end of this lesson. Once you've finished your pattern and you've practiced singing it, you can go to Flipgrid with that link, show me your pattern that you drew and that you wrote and your strategy that you followed, and sing it for me. As an extra bonus, if you've got a piano at home, kind of like mine, you could also play it on an instrument like that. In case you're not sure, the notes that we've been using for our 3 notes today are me is on an A. And A is located between the group of 3 black keys, slightly to the right. Do you see where it is on this picture? That's A, and that's our note for me. Our note for so is 2 steps up above that, and that is C. So see that group of 2 black keys there? It's just to the left of it. So me is next between the group of 3. C, or so, is just below the group of 2. And that just leaves law, which is our note D on the piano, and it's going to be immediately between those 2 black keys of the 2 group. Me, so, and law. A, C, and D. If you know how to find those on your piano at home, you're welcome to use your piano while you sing your pattern. That way you could play it as well as sing it. If you don't have a piano though, don't worry, you can just sing your pattern. Mi, so, la, la. Thanks for doing some patterns with me today, and I hope you come up with an interesting one to show me.